While I understand that Saudi Arabia is a strategic ally, the behavior of Mohammed bin Salman cannot be ignored. Now is not the time to do business as usual with Saudi Arabia.
And a minority leader.
I ask unanimous consent the quorum be dispensed with. Are we in a quorum, Mr. President?
For more on this, Ivan Eland joins me now from Washington, D.C. He's a defence analyst and the director of the Independent Institute's Centre on Peace and Liberty. Welcome to Money Talks, Ivan. Momentum is clearly growing among US lawmakers of all stripes to block Donald Trump's plans to sell arms to Saudi Arabia. Tell us a bit more about why they're looking to do that.
I think there's two reasons. The first is, as your piece mentioned, Saudi misbehavior with the war in Yemen, killing a lot of civilians, and also the murder of Khashoggi in Turkey. There's also another issue which many people overseas might not be familiar with. We're familiar with it here in the United States, is increasing executive power. There's a feeling that Trump is declaring states of emergency, as he has in this case, to get around congressional oversight. Our system has three branches of government, and Congress and the president are two of those three. And the president, over a number of decades, has increased in power at the expense of Congress. And I think Congress is now pushing back. They want to, maybe vote against this sale. They probably will vote against it. Now, in our system, he can veto it, and then they would have to get a supermajority to override him. So the sale will probably go through, but Congress is making a symbolic statement with disapproval of the Yemeni war. And also this, because it's likely, I think, the Senate is the key thing, and they've already got some Republicans, and the House has the opposition party, the Democrats, and so they'll probably pass it, but then Trump will probably veto it, and the whole thing will be a symbolic exercise. But nonetheless, both in the case of Saudi Arabia and excessive executive power, I think the Congress will have made a statement for the future that Trump just can't keep doing these things.
Interesting. Now, among those supporting these resolutions to block these arms sales is the Republican Senator Lindsey Graham, who, as we know, is a staunch Trump supporter. What does this say about the growing feeling among Republicans against Donald Trump's support of Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, I think it is significant. He's a super hawk, and he's also he didn't used to be supportive of Trump, but he's scared of Trump because of his reelection. He's up for reelection, so he's been playing ball with Trump. But in this case, I think he is mad enough at the Saudi regime for various things, and especially I think the Khashoggi murder really put many in the Congress, including Republicans, whether they say it or not. They've really raised eyebrows about what this de facto leader MBS in Saudi Arabia is doing. And of course, it's not limited to the Yemeni war and the murder of Khashoggi. He put sanctions against Kuwait. He shook down his own wealthy people for money for his regime. He locked them up and that sort of thing. So I think he's cracking down on dissent, et cetera. So I think there's a real objection to Saudi Arabia's behavior in the U.S. Congress, and even the Republicans are a part of that now.
Now, Donald Trump has said that he'd rather see Saudi Arabia spend billions of dollars on US weapons rather than have the kingdom go to countries like China to spend their billions there. What do you make of that argument?
Well, I think that we don't want to sell weapons into regions that will destabilize things. And sometimes the U.S. unfortunately does that. And I think that, of course, all this is in opposition to Iran. But of course, there's two sides to that argument. And I think Saudi Arabia and the UAE are engaging in some questionable behavior in the Middle East, Persian Gulf region, in addition to Iran doing it as well. So I'm not sure. Trump has come down on the side of Saudi Arabia for whatever reason, and it's been a traditional ally, of course, but I think he's even more enthusiastic about supporting Saudi Arabia even after a lot of this questionable behavior. And of course, he's going against Iran. Whereas Obama had reached a nuclear deal with the Iranians, so he was sort of trying to be a little bit more even-handed. But the policy has gone the other way, and it's a very curious thing.
Okay, we'll keep an eye on how these discussions on the resolutions go. Ivan Eland in Washington, thank you again for your time.